Well, this book went into so much detail about ancient civilizations and obviously showing that some sort of intelligence interfaced with ancient civilizations to get us to where we are now and to create these artifacts that we find all around the world. I became quite compelled with the evidence he presented, showing me that there had to have been a civilization that was highly advanced before our current one, which in most people's mind, you think of BC, you think of cavemen, right? Well, BC is only, 100 generations ago, and that's not a whole lot of time, really. So basically speaking, we have a much older history. So all this stuff is coming into my mind. I had started to write my dreams down when I got sober. That was part of my recovery process, because dreaming is a very important part of the lucid dreaming process. You have to capture a dream when it comes in, and then meditate on it and visualize yourself becoming lucid, meaning that you say, oh my God, I'm in a dream. I can levitate things. I can fly. I can snap my fingers and go to a whole different place. I can create people to talk to. I can create objects. I mean, I've had a number of these, and they are absolutely fantastic. But you have to remember your dreams and then repeat this line to yourself. Next time I'm dreaming, I want to remember to recognize that I'm dreaming. That's the key line. Next time I'm dreaming, I want to remember to recognize that I'm dreaming. So I already had a lot of experience remembering dreams. So I start remembering dreams, and I start getting all this information coming in from books. I read 500 books in 3 years. I had a list of all of them, and I submitted my application in the Ropa Institute, which is a graduate school in Boulder, Colorado, on transpersonal psychology, which is sort of like metaphysical psychology. And I handed them this list, and I said, name any book, and I'll give you a discourse on it. And I didn't get accepted, probably because my financial situation wasn't very good. Came back from Boulder. Now we're into 1996. I'd been doing this research for 3 years. And I was like, okay, why am I so compelled? Why can I not stop reading these books? I'm just so obsessed. There's got to be something more to this. I start having dreams in which UFOs fly overhead, and something shoots out of the UFO, and it comes spinning down, lands on the ground, and it's a telephone. And it starts ringing. Oh, shit. Yeah. Wow. And then I had this other dream where this E.T. kind of walked up to me, and all these books start flying out from behind it like a cyclone, and they're hitting me in the face, and it hurts, kind of. But as each book is flying past me, all these books that I'd read, it's like all the knowledge in the book comes into my mind at once. And I start seeing how it all fits together in this dream. It was like this incredible telepathic, overwhelming blast. And I woke up and I'm like, what does this mean? It's almost like they're saying, because if you're watching these videos and you're into the UFO subject, you kind of say to yourself, yeah, it's all out there, right? It's all something I'm reading about. This is like it comes into your mind, it's personal, it's part of you now, and it's what they want to talk to me, they want to have a conversation, they meaning whoever they is. What finally happened was I had a dream that said, okay, here's what's going to happen. You'll be able to hear, it was a ghost that was talking to me in the dream, and he said, you can hear me, but nobody else can. So I'll tell you what to say, and then you just dictate it into a tape recorder. So here I am. I've read 500 books. I get on the internet. And by this point, I had come across material called Ascension, or some people were calling it pole shift. I'd read the Nostradamus stuff, so I said, well, what's really going on here? Now, up until this point, I had almost entirely read empirical, science-oriented books about ufology, about metaphysics, about Atlantis. However, at this point, I started to get more into the possibility that somebody could intuitively communicate with these guys. I found a book by Dr. Norman Milanovich called We the Arcturians. And I wasn't 100% convinced, but I was relatively compelled by it. Then I found a book by Dr. Scott Mandelker called From Elsewhere. And I don't have it in front of me here, but this book says on the cover, the subculture of those who claim to be of non-earthly origins. And I looked at it in the store, and I'm like, this guy is really far out. but I held the book between my hands, which I would do, psychometry, and it was tingling so incredibly. It was like, it was electrical. Wow, all right. So I opened the book to the back, and it said, if you can answer these 12 questions in the affirmative about yourself, then you very likely are an extraterrestrial soul in a human body who's forgotten who you really are. Now, this is really far out, way, way fringe stuff, but by this point I'd read 500 books on the fringe. It was like, okay. I start reading these questions, and it's like the most personal, insightful, almost invasive psychological description of who I really was underneath the mask that I'd ever seen. And I couldn't believe it. He doesn't even know me, and yet he knows me better than anybody, even my parents. How did that happen? And he's saying that this has to do with being an extraterrestrial soul in a human body. So I just devoured this book. This was in November of 1995, after I graduated college in 95. I go to my friend Jude's house. Jude and I did music together a lot, because I'm also a drummer and a composer. And Jude and I did automatic writing together on his suggestion, where you hold the pencil in your left hand, let it do what it wants to do. And I didn't think it was going to work. I thought it was kind of hokey. But we really meditated, and I felt this conscious connection to my third eye and trying to pull in energy from there. And all of a sudden, and the question we asked was, am I a wanderer, which is what they call these extraterrestrial souls. Am I a wanderer? I start feeling something coming in really strong, and I pull here really strong. And for all of 2 or 3 seconds, my left hand jumped into activity and did all this stuff. And I dropped the pen. Oh my God. Jude, turn on the lights. Something happened, man. This is crazy. So we turn on the lights, and the paper looked completely white. It was like, oh, what the hell? But then we looked really close, and it was very, very faint pencil. And it says, my hand had written forward and backward on the same line, and there were curves that intersected, and only because they collided with each other did it say, Christ cometh. Now, I was not raised to be Christian. I went to the Presbyterian church maybe 4 times in my life. My mother had had a Bible upbringing, and then she really rebelled from it and got away from it. Christ cometh, and then the TH of cometh looked like the word Ra. Well, that's like the Egyptian god or something. What's that all about? Well, in the book that I had been reading from Scott Manelker, the entity that he based all this stuff on was called Ra. And it was a series of 4 books originally, then 5, called The Law of One. So after this happened, there was more than that. There was an encoded message. It said EC 4057 and oxen, and the and was a little ampersand symbol. The oxen I understood. I'd worked at a fair over the summer, and I bought a statue of an ox, which I thought represented my becoming a beast of burden in the working world. And the woman was from Kenya, and I said, well, what does this animal mean? And she says, oh, you American, always think symbol, something means something. Okay, well, this is an ox, right? You hitch it up to a plow, and it plows the field for you. She says, no, it's water buffalo, very dangerous. You get within 500 feet of this, you pray for death. So that surprised me. I said, okay, that means that somehow all this stuff I'm going through is going to help me be really strong. And going through the working world doesn't mean I'm going to be submerged, because I got out of college and I'd had my bills paid, I'd had all the books I could read, and then I had to support myself with like minimum wage jobs, and I did not want to be doing that. So I felt like I was going to be this burden, this beast of burden. Instead, the water buffalo is a powerful symbol. So here I am, months later. By this point, I'd gotten fired from the mental ward for being too friendly to the patients. And there's this EC 4057 at the beginning. Well, Jude says, hey, EC, isn't that like a Bible, like Ecclesiastes? And it says Christ, right? So, okay. So we found the Bible, and there was no verse 40. But then we remembered, or Jude remembered, the whole chapter verse thing only happened later. Originally, you measured it by the number of verses from the beginning. So we counted 40 verses from the beginning. I'd just gotten fired from the mental ward, right? That's why I was upstate where my family was. Well, the first line says, for what hath a man toiled and labored under the sun? This too is